Got to clear my throat. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Welcome to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Barbie. I'm the founder, president, and CEO of GRCAI, the Grassroots Community Activist Movement. I created this platform to discuss cultural issues, political issues, and social issues using an Afrocentric perspective. I interview activists, authors, entrepreneurs, and musicians. Some of my critics tell me that my introductions are too long. Well, I'm going to try to be mindful for those of you that have short attention spans. I recommend that you go to my Medium transcript located in the comments section of this audio podcast on my YouTube page. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. And I recommend that you just watch the videos. That's all I can say. For those of you that I would like to know more about, what this organization is all about, what I'm trying to get popping here in the city of Chicago, just listen to what I have to say, and also, check out my I come with receipts, so check out my what you call that, just fact check, in other words, my information. That's all I'm saying. So if you are new to this audio podcast, or if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel as of yet, please do so now. Be sure to tap that notification bell for alerts when we upload a new video. Please let us know in the comment section below this audio podcast where you're listening to us from. Also, let us know what's happening in your country, in your state, and or in your city. Make arrangements with me and come on this platform so we can discuss it in real time. Now, let's say, for example, those of you that might not be on my Facebook friends list, my Instagram friends list, my LinkedIn friends list, TikTok friends list, or X friends list, no worries. I recommend that you would go down to the comment section below this audio podcast. Scroll down to where it says, I'm trying to think, it's going to say something about revise links. So you click on there, and then you either can send me a friend request on my Facebook page, my TikTok page, my LinkedIn page, or my X page. So that's what I would recommend if you're not friends with me already. And also include your email address so that way I can email you everything I do. And, you could decide if you want to be part of my Christian organization or not. I would like for us to grow this platform to 500,000 strong, and also for us to get this film project fully funded and made so that way we can use the proceeds from the film to purchase property in Chicago, Illinois, within the low-income Black community, as well as within the Black middle-class community. Because I want this business to become an economic base within both communities. Eventually, in God's timing, we will be hosting African tours, Caribbean tours, and South American tours. So that way we can move beyond cyberspace and make our presence known in the cities and countries around the globe. On this platform, we share news and social commentary on a variety of topics ranging from politics to social justice issues. I provide my thoughts and views in details. I provide receipts that support my statements. I noticed that some of the biggest YouTubers use some of my talking points. Hey, it is what it is. It's all right. And I give authentic commentary that speaks to my passion for shining a light on truth and exposing lies and liars alike. I have zero tolerance for foolishness and disrespect. On this platform, we are more than just a pop-up ad. Just bear with me. Came up. Um, so we are. Let me just start over. On this platform, we are more than just talk. We will put boots on the ground and do what we can to help improve the social conditions of our people who want more out of life and who also want to become GRCAI members. I'm not here for entertainment. I'm here to recruit brave and smart Black people beyond Chicago and African people across the United States of America to work with me directly in building and running GRCAI of Chicago, which stands for the Grassroots Community Activists Institute of Chicago. I'm giving notice to everyone on my Facebook page, my Instagram page, my TikTok page, my LinkedIn page, and my X page. If you do not care about solving Black issues or solving African issues, then please delete me off your friends list and go on about your business. And that's real. You're just wasting space, taking up space. That's all. I want people that's listening to what I'm saying to interact with me, and let's get this stuff popping. Disclaimer: the content on this platform is for educational and informational purposes only, and it's based on public available reports and verified media sources. We fully comply with YouTube's community guidelines. We do not promote violence, hate, or misinformation in any form. This audio podcast is available in two forms: audio and also as a written text, in order for us to reach our audience. Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast is our Black media component. I would like to encourage my listeners to subscribe to my Medium page. That's where that's where I post all of my presentations. I provide my Medium transcript in the comment section below this audio podcast. If you are a Black artist, African artist, such as an author, comedian, poet, musician, or entrepreneur, then make arrangements with me to come on this platform so you can promote your books, your business, your music, your jokes. And if you have a small ministry, then you're more than welcome to share a 30-minute sermon with my listeners from the global community. After the show, I offer incentives to my guest speakers by teaching them how to create their own podcast, YouTube channel, and get it monetized, as well as assist them with creating a free Wix website. If you do not know how to use StreamYard or Zoom, no problem. Then make arrangements with me and I will teach you how to use both of them. Then you can come on the show. I'm available Thursday, August 13th through Sunday, August 16th, Monday, August 17th, Tuesday, August 18th, Thursday, August 20th through Sunday, August 23rd, Monday, August 24th, Tuesday, August 25th, Thursday, August 27th through Friday, August 28th, Sunday, August 30th, and Monday, August 31st, all between 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. American Central Time. If you are a member of my GRCAI of Africa group on Facebook, then don't worry about getting my ebook. I'm mindful that um, you all are that live on the continent um, are living from hand to mouth. I need for you to step up though and help put me on blast by leaving public comments about the topics in the comment section. Um, the comment section on each um, episode that I do. And most of all, please share my YouTube link with all of your friends on Facebook and any other social media sites that you're on. This will help get the ball rolling. And my past guest that was on the show on Saturday, he asked a good question. He asked me, "Well, Emmanuel, how long do you think it's going to take for you to get your business up and running, and for you to get the film to be fully funded and made?" And basically, I was trying to tell him, but my time ran out on Zoom. But all I can say is, it's up to the the Black grassroots and the global African family. The ball is in their court. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing more I can do. I wrote the vision and made it plain in my revised book. You know, um, I have a virtual store. I have my online groups. I have this platform. My film project is my last attempt to try to do something positive for my racial group, Black Americans. That's just my last attempt. Been pushing my vision and plan to um, Black America, specifically Black Chicago, for the past 34 years. Of course, I'm upset. I'm not happy about that it's taken so long. But again, God give us free will. It is what it is. That's all I can say on that. I encourage Black content creators and African content creators who have a large following. Please allow me to come on your platform so that I can speak to your audience about my revised book and my film project. After all, my Christian business is for Black millennials and Generation Z. This is not my burden alone. This is a shared burden. GRCAI members will take the lead in solving our social issues. We're not going to wait till someone pass the mantle to us. We're going to build our own mantle. I don't want the brand and the vision to die in America. I don't want to be stagnant for another 34 years. Again, this is why I'm reaching out to African immigrants and the global African family. And I want the global African family to know my story. And I want to make sure that none of my members under my leadership would never have to go through this type of foolishness that I endured. That's not cool at all. It's a straight up turnoff. And that's why my business is membership based at this point in time. I can't build with some off code, or we can't build with off code people. That's all I can say. Can't build with paranoid people. You know what I'm saying? This is why I'm pushing my vision to the Black world. This is my contribution to Africa's rising. This year, we are determined to get this film project fully funded and made so that we can get our story on the big screen in order to reach the Black world and let them know who we are and what we're trying to do for Black Americans who identify as DAS FM, descendants of American slaves / freedmen, who are trapped in American ghettos. Upcoming events. Saturday, please mark your calendars, ladies and gentlemen. For Saturday, August 29th, we're hosting our monthly virtual town hall. I'm encouraging 5 people from my Facebook page or from my Instagram page, LinkedIn page, TikTok, or from my X page to come forth and to be on my panel. So that way we can discuss our monthly theme. Quote, navigating the future with AI and tech, moving the Black community forward. That's what we're going to try to do. Where? YouTube Live. When? Saturday, August 29th, 2026, time 2 p.m. American Central Time, 3 p.m. Canadian Time, 8 p.m. West African Time, 9 p.m. South African Time, 10 p.m. East African Time, and 8 p.m. UK Time. If you're interested if you're interested, then please send me a message to my Facebook inbox along with your email address so that way I can email you specific instructions about being on the panel. If you are unable to participate on our monthly um, virtual town hall conference, no problem. Then please listen to the replay, leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast, and most of all, please share this audio podcast with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, so after I give my presentation, that's called side A. I'm gonna do my little pep talk, and then after that, I'm gonna turn the show over to my panel. Now, if I don't like what happened, last month, nobody showed up. Hey, it is what it is. No shame. Doggone it, I just have to do the show myself. I have to hold it down. But what I'm gonna do is I'll wait around for about 5 to 15 minutes even, and um if people want to ask me direct questions, then hey, I'm all for it. That's the whole purpose of me holding these um virtual town halls. So I want to give everybody an opportunity to speak with me, to answer any questions you may have. But all I ask you to do is just get on camera and speak. It's fine that you want to just leave comments, in the comment section. That's fine and dandy. But don't be afraid. Get on camera and, speak. Let people know who you are. That's all I'm saying. Because doggone it, I ain't on here to cower behind no computer. I'm here to recruit. Same reason why I wrote that book is to recruit brave and smart people, point blank. So we can move this thing together and forward. Make our presence known in the inner cities because that's where all the unnecessary uh, deaths and violent crimes take place. It's all because of finances, and That's why the white supremacist financial elites created the black ghettos in the first place. So that way we can, I would say, just kill each other. It's horrible. And a lot of people, it's a shame that a lot of our people got caught up, want to look down on people that's trapped in the black ghettos and all that stuff. So that's how come they create a sub, culture. Sad, but that's where I came from. Now I'm not going back to the hood to say how um, successful and all that stuff I am. We're gonna build this business from the mud, GRCAI members, but we're not gonna just have all of our business in the low income black community. We're also gonna have it in the black middle class community because that's what I want my members to strive for. Strive for becoming middle class. You know what I'm saying? Then you don't have to deal with all that drama that's take place in the inner cities. But again, we want to make our presence known in the inner cities, but specifically here in Chicago. And I talk about that in detail in the book. ladies and gentlemen. Title of this presentation: How Africa Survived Colonization and GRCAI of Chicago Will Unite Black America and Africa. Our first topic: How Africa Survived Colonization. Today we're going to discuss a TikTok video that I watched over the weekend entitled, quote, Colonization in Africa Explained. To watch the full video, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. There's a video of a white individual. I don't know if he's an American or if he's, European, but that's why I just say a white individual who shared his thoughts about colonization in Africa and how it was different from colonization in other places. I am going to play that video, but I just want you all to just bear with me because I prefer to just try to read my speech, then, go through it that way. But basically, what he was saying is how Africa emerged from colonization and survived, while in other places, other groups of people got wiped out. African people today should be thanking God for our ancestors surviving the evil plans of our historical enemy, the white supremacist financial elites, because these are the people that started all our doggone problems. Those people right there. Good Lord. So, and that's all. Like I say, I mean, it's rough, but I all I can do at this point in time is just my best, doing the best that I can to reach more people like Sister Renee. I mean, grateful for her. That's the only person that's actually working with me directly and getting this thing. She worked with me behind the scenes. But yeah, this is a very difficult task because this is a Nehemiah assignment. This is bigger than myself. That's how come I'm so dedicated to trying to get the thing up and running. Our distant cousins on the continent were able to come out on the other side and are still very relevant in today's geopolitics. I'm going to play the video clip, then I'm going to share my commentary about the topic. I'm gonna just go ahead and play it now, y'all. Fair use TikTok. But yeah, this is the only one that I'm gonna play for now, and then after that, I'm gonna go ahead and finish reading up my presentation. And then, because I want to switch up a little bit, and then, I'm going to play, my favorite videos that I liked it. And again, bottom line, I'm just trying to connect with brave and smart people that's going to work with me and Sister Renee here in America. We got to get it popping here in Chicago for credibility so that way I can bring it to the African continent. All right, y'all. Check this man out. Oh, brother. Hold on. I'm having a little issues. Little technical issues, but we're going to get there. Just bear with me. All right, here we go.
Colonization so different in Africa than it was in the Americas? Even why did Africa end up so different, even though it was colonized by largely the same people? Well, the first thing is that we need to remember that Africa was colonized at a completely different time. The Americas were colonized in like the 1600s, 1700s. Africa would be colonized in the late 1800s. Okay, like, and these countries wouldn't achieve independence until like the 1950s, 1960s. In 1950, which is only like 70 years ago, only 5 countries in Africa had independence. Contrast that to Latin America and the Americas, all basically everywhere was already independent. And why was Africa colonized later? It's for a variety of reasons. Like, one, the empires in Africa that existed in the 1700s, 1600s were closer in power to the European powers than the empires that existed in the Americas. Okay, so the European countries decided to negotiate with these African empires, and they largely did so for slavery, so that they could send those people to the Americas. And so they had like some leases for trading ports, and like they stayed close to the ocean, and that's for another reason that I'll explain in a minute. But they had agreements for that, and so they really treated them more as equals, until they would like take people to be enslaved. But the reason they also didn't colonize was because they literally couldn't. Europeans could not go into Africa. They would die. And because of disease. And it's different than what was going on in the Americas. It's like the polar opposite. When we think about the diseases from the old world going into the Americas, we think about how it ravaged the indigenous populations. But Africa was already familiar with these old world diseases because of Islamic immigration and the caliphates and those empires, because of Europeans being closer than they were to the Americas, but Europeans could not go into the inland of Africa without dying, specifically because of malaria. Until this prophylactic treatment, quinine, was developed, they literally couldn't. And once that was developed, that kind of changed the game. Other things that changed the game were the steamboat. There were rapids, and it was really hard to get through these African rivers to get inland. And eventually, Europeans would progress with gun technology faster than they would in Africa. And that created this asymmetry of power that the Europeans would later exploit. But this wouldn't really happen until the scramble for Africa. All of these European powers would converge together in this meeting in Berlin in like the 1880s, and they would carve up Africa. That's why you see all these straight lines in Africa that are entirely arbitrary, crossing like ethnic boundaries, crossing, historic boundaries of religion, of tribes, of everything. And that's why so many different countries in Africa are like a melting pot of different ethnicities. A lot of times that's resulted in severe conflict in this country, because it's a lot different than what happened in the Americas as well. Like, the Americas saw all of these European people kind of immigrate and then mix with the indigenous populations and create this like Creole mestizo class that would become educated, be allowed to get educated. The colonization of Africa was pure brutal resource extraction. People weren't moving there. There was like this white governing body that ruled over most of the rest of the population, and people wouldn't move there, partially because of the disease, partially because that wasn't the system that they were creating. And so whenever the European powers left, they had refused, basically, in almost all instances. The British kind of educated people. This isn't to say any colonization is good. It's all bad, just some is worse. And so like the Belgians refused to allow any people to be educated in the Congo. And so when they packed up and left and burnt everything to the ground as they were leaving, there was no one educated, because they had refused for generations to educate anyone. There were no Congolese doctors or lawyers or administrators. The entire armed services, like the officer corps, were Belgians, like at the top, because they had never allowed anyone. And so when they left, created all these problems, and the UN had to step in and provide different provide that. But that story is not unique. It happened repeatedly, because for generations there was this racial disparity in education that didn't exist as much in the upon independence in the Americas, because there was this educated Creole class, and also because the independence movements in the Americas, think like Washington, Simon Bolivar, like they were descended from Europeans. It was like they had been settled, and then they were like trying to get independence in that way, versus in Africa it was a different type of independence movement. It was like led by people from this area. No like European mixing, no like European frame of mind. It was independence for our identity, which is a much different thing that was going on. And so when we think about, well, like, why are African states in different stages of development than in the Americas? Well, it's partially because of the type of colonization, the recency of said colonization, and the arbitrariness of these lines that were drawn. But the colonization was just so different in the Americas versus Africa. It happened at totally different times. And so something important to keep in mind in this beautiful place. I'm in rural Zambia, which feels like a great time.
All right, so just bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. Just bear with me. So I can. Hmm. Okay, I've been touching on this topic when I was on Blog Talk Radio. He is correct that European powers and African kingdoms and empires coexist during that time frame. Over time, the Europeans whitewashed Africa's history. They lied and said they just walked into the shores of Africa and everybody just surrendered immediately. That wasn't the case. I comment or I commend this guy for being honest about the true geopolitical context during that time, because when you study the battles and the military conflicts that took place from the early 1500s even until the mid 1800s, there were many battles and military confrontations that took place where the European forces were defeated. They don't want to mention that part. Of course not. We're talking about pure humiliation and destruction. That's a fact. When it came to military power, going toe to toe, the European powers and the African powers during that time were very close in stature. For example, the Portuguese went to South Africa in the early 1500s. Their entire army was eliminated by the local inhabitants. That's I would say, the black South Africans. The British attacked the Ashanti in West Africa. I believe it was 1823. They got destroyed. The Zulus defeated the British in the late 1800s. In 1670, the Portuguese got destroyed in the Congo. In 1535, the Portuguese got destroyed in Guinea. In 1535, a Portuguese military force sent, just bear with me with these names. I don't know, I only know how to speak English, so I don't know some of these foreign languages. But I believe his name is pronounced Doom Lewis, to conquer the by the Beijago Islands off the coast of modern day Guinea. That was completely destroyed by the powerful Navy force, resulting in a humiliating defeat and forcing Portugal to abandon attempts at conquering for decades. The scramble for Africa didn't take place until the 1880s, up, up into the early 1900s. But from the 1500s to the 1800s, the African forces were fighting off the Europeans. Again, these people, again, we didn't ask these people to come to our continent. They just imposed themselves. That's what makes this stuff very frustrating, because Africans didn't do anything to these people. They just came over there and just want to take somebody's gold and their natural resources. So heck yeah, people gonna fight you. They ain't gonna let you just come in their place and take their stuff. But you have to realize European didn't have anything going on. Look at the so-called Dark Ages in Europe. They only start accumulating wealth when they colonize, Africa and the Caribbeans and uh, South America. So yeah, I would say India too. Yeah, they made money, a lot of money from those people as well. But I'm only really focusing on what's happening to black people and Africans. That's my focus. Um, and of course, it wasn't until the creation of the machine gun, it was no longer about hand to hand combat, getting up close and fighting man to man, toe to toe. Instead, you can stand miles away and just let off rounds with a machine gun, firing um, hundreds of rounds, um, I would say, within minutes. As I mentioned in my revised book, this is how the Europeans conquered Africa. This is when the European forces gained the advantage. But for those hundreds of years before that, the European military suffered multiple humiliating defeats at the hand of the African forces on the continent. Again, I salute this guy for being honest about the situation and not trying to rewrite history as they usually do. Before the machine gun, Europeans were unable to colonize Africa because nature protected our ancestors. They would end up getting sick and die because of diseases. It was different from what they experienced coming to the Americas. The disease from the old world going into the Americas ravaged the indigenous population. But Africa was already familiar with those old world diseases due to Islamic immigration and the caliphate and those empires because of Europeans being closer than they were to the Americans. Europeans could not go into the inlands of Africa without dying because of malaria. Like I said, the African military forces were whooping their butts for centuries. These guys came off their boats smelling funky, lack of showers for weeks, coming with diseases. Our ancestors' immune systems were able to fight off those diseases in comparisons to other places that might not have been familiar or exposed to those same diseases were mass masses of indigenous people were died off as a result of European contact due to smallpox. And like the guy said, it actually happened in reverse. So when the Europeans got in contact with the natives of the New World, they died off through diseases. In contrast, when Europeans came in contact with Africans, the Europeans themselves were dropping dead from diseases. The African militaries were whooping the Europeans' butt and kept them on the coastal areas. Nature itself worked out in our favor. So in the video, he talked about the difference between the independence movements in the so-called New World versus the independent movements on the continent. The independent movements in the Americas, like Washington, a descendant of Europeans. In Africa, it was different types of independent movement. It was led by people from the soil. Europeans were not able to settle in certain parts of Africa because nature would not be kind to them. They could not survive the climate. Their immune system could not defend them against the pathogens that they might encounter. After all, the tragedies that happened to black Africans, the slave trade, the scramble for Africa, all the European forces converge on the continent to come and destroy it. We are still there today. Thank God. I want to be a part of Africa's rising, but I need African immigrants in the United States of America to work with me directly. First, by reading my story and helping me get my ebook on that bestsellers list so that way I can be in a better position financially to hire Black people, African people, and others. Secondly, work with me and Sister Renee in getting our film project fully funded and made so that together we can make a powerful Black empowerment film in order to reach the Black masses and the Black world. I need GRCAI members across the United States of America, both Black Americans and African immigrants, to help us make our presence known in Black Chicago, in the Black low income community and the Black middle class community, and also build a bridge with African immigrant community in Chicago and the surrounding suburbs. That's all I'm asking. We aim to make Chicago a model for other cities across the United States of America, and we also aim to expand our Christian business to 10 African nations. Um, Experts say that Africa's demographics is going to explode in the future. We're going to be some of the most dominant demographics on the planet going into the future. And that's actually remarkable given everything that what we went through, especially in comparison to other groups who were annihilated. On the continent, we will build GRCAI of Africa, and we will demand reparation for colonization from these European nations, point blank. That's ridiculous. We was minding our own doggone business, and they came to our continent messing up everything. If they refuse, no problem. Just don't do business with them. And we have to demand our African citizens going to have to demand from their governments to remove people on the continent who colonized our ancestors and the actual country itself. They're going to either have to pay reparations, or if they don't want to pay reparation and if they don't want to go back to their homeland, I recommend you just put them in prison. Make them go to prison then. Because we didn't ask these people to come to our continent. They imposed themselves. We do not want to be Europeans. We don't want former colonizers on our soil. Eventually, GRCAI of Africa will cover the entire Sahara Africa. Our people experienced colonization. My ancestors endured American slavery, and these same people in South Africa has 80% of occupied land, and they control the economy. This should be a wake-up call to all Black Africans. Enough is enough. A majority of African leaders are against what's taking place in West Africa, in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Those people fought for their independence. They kicked out the Western military, which is France. They told France to just go. We don't want you. That should be an example for the rest of the continent. I'm just saying. The reason why Africa survived colonization and other people did not is because of disease, and nature was on our side. African military resistance, centuries of military victories over the Europeans compared to when the Europeans came to the New World. Christopher Columbus went to Hispaniola. That's in northern Haiti. The natives got decimated and were subdued very quickly. Whereas in Africa, it was centuries of conflict, centuries of combat, centuries of battles, centuries of military confrontation. And for the majority of that time, the African men were fighting off the Europeans. We did nothing to these people. They tried to impose themselves on us. We were in Africa minding our own Black business. Then they got a nerve to be racist. This is why I don't want to be around these white supremacist financial elites. Good Lord. They hate us with a passion, but we didn't ask to be around them. They the ones started all this mess. Just saying. The invention of the machine gun gave them the upper hand. The European Union wants to recolonize Africa. If we lose Africa, we lose everything. They laid their claim on the continent during the Berlin Conference when all the European powers sat at a table, created borders, and decided to team up together and devise a plan to take Africa by force. For example, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and the United Kingdom, as well as oh my goodness, um, trying to remember where the Borgs, what country they came from again? Shucks, those so-called Afrikaners. Yes, the Netherlands. Yeah, that's included as well. I forgot to write that down in my for my speech, but yeah, it's them too as well. And that is when essentially they came together and colonized the continent. But even then, during the scramble for Africa, they took decades of warfare. It wasn't like 1885, the Berlin Conference, and then they took over the continent. The early 1900s, there were still military engagement between African forces and European forces deep until the early 1900s. Europeans did not start establishing trade posts on the coast in the late 1400s. It wasn't until the early 1900s they began to establish their foothold and lay their claims. There's a 500-year of military resistance against European colonization. After everything we've been through, all the adversities we've been through, we came out on the other side still intact. We have our genetic material still intact. We still exist. We're still relevant in today's geopolitical um, in comparisons to other groups who also suffered European colonization but are no longer here. They've been eliminated by disease and war, but we are still here and we are still relevant. We can still turn things around on the continent in our favor. We can still once again build militaries that we once had back in the day that were able to go toe to toe with the European invaders. We can once again build those civilizations that were documented by the European travelers like Park, who described magnificent civilizations. So we can once again turn it around and get back on top. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites that you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Our second topic, Cacao Chicago will unite Black America and Africa. I believe that Cacao Chicago will unite Black America and Africa. In this episode, we will discuss the importance of African immigrants who reside in the United States of America that will join the grassroots community activist movement and benefit domestically and internationally. On this platform, we center Africa and the Black world in today's geop- geopolitics. Like it or not, because a lot of people that I run across, I'm gonna say not a lot, but I'm gonna say a large amount. You know, they tell me they like the business and things like that, but they don't like the Christian part of it. And I keep trying to explain to them, hey, you don't have to technically be a Christian. You could be secular, okay? But only thing is now, if you're a devil worshiper, nah, I don't want to fool with you. You can't be a part of this business. Um, Practice witchcraft, voodoo, and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to deal with you. Can't be a part of us. because that goes against my faith and all that stuff. I'm just saying. So, but yeah, you don't have to be necessarily a Christian to be a part of this business, as long as you come with clean hands. That's all. Don't try to undermine us. Our focus is just on solving Black issues. When I come to Africa, my focus, we will focus on solving African issues. That's just how it's going to be. I'm called by Jesus / Joshua to build the best Black Christian business within the United States of America, and that is GRCAI of Chicago, the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. With the help of GRCAI members, we're getting it from the mud. GRCAI of Chicago mission to help clean up the low-income Black community by eradicating urban violence in Chicago through arts, culture, commerce, spiritual development, and hosting African tours. Advocate for Black Americans who identify as DAS FM, that stands for Descendants of American Slaves / Freedmen. Promote Black economic empowerment, education, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and economic stability. Promote healthcare access and promote civic engagement and advocate for lineage policies and social justice. We will promote economic opportunities and become an economic base in both the low income Black community and the middle class Black community. We also want to build a bridge between the African immigrant community in Chicago and surrounding suburbs. The County of Chicago will consist of a nonprofit sector and also a for profit sector. The County of Chicago will be a multi purpose facility. Under our for profit sector, my advisory board team will assist me in entering the grocery store industry, the healthcare industry, and the housing industry because as humans, we all need food, healthcare, and shelter. This is how I will make my bread and butter. Unfortunately, Black America has been taking me for a joke, especially Black Chicagoans. Truth be told, I am unable to reach Black Americans because a majority of them have become Americanized, have developed a narcissist attitude, and have been taking on the colonizer's ways. It's a shame. For 34 years, I have been reaching out to Black Americans, specifically Black Chicagoans, in real life and online. Majority of them tell me that they're not interested in my vision and plan to help improve our social conditions in the low income Black community. This is why I created this platform to broadcast my vision and plan through the airwaves across the United States of America and around the globe to reach the global African family. I want to bring my business over to the continent, but I got to get it popping here in America first. That's for credibility. Because when I come to Africa, I don't want to come empty-handed. I want to bring economic tangibles in the form of job creation for GRCAI members. That's all I want to do. Not just be sitting up here running off at the mouth. I'm not running for public office. Not at all. And I do not operate like the next Black man. I have my own style and way of doing things. I'm not going to be like Dr. King that was pressured to, he was pressured to go kind of, what you call that? Yeah, humanitarian stuff, want to help everybody. Can't do all that stuff. I want to focus on helping my brothers and sisters who identify as DAS FM that's live in the low income Black community. I want to help them and their immediate family. That's my focus. And also, help my brothers and sisters that's in the middle class community. because those are the people that I'm going to hire in the first place, because they're going to have the talents and skills that I need to make sure that this business is going to be effective and successful for years to come. As I mentioned in my uh, many times before, this is spiritual warfare in real time. All that I can do at this point is to continue to encourage my listeners across the United States of America and from around the globe to help me get my ebook on that bestsellers list. The title of my ebook is, quote, The Solution for Black America, Reclaiming, Rebuilding, and Restoring the Urban Ghettos in America, second edition. It's available on Amazon in two forms: as an ebook for $9.99, as or as a softcover book for $15 plus shipping and handling. I provide my Amazon author page in the comment section below this audio podcast. This will help put me in a better position financially so that I can hire Black people, African people, and others. If you agree with my vision and plan to help improve the social conditions in the low income Black community, then you will automatically be considered a GRCAI member. I will I have been paying out of pocket for this business title for 16 years, since 2010, and still I don't have an advisory board or a resource team. That's unacceptable, Black America. And this is why my business will be membership based. If you're not a member, no problem. All we're gonna do is pray for people that's not members. Um, Show them tough love and just keep it moving. That's how it is. Those who rejected my vision and plan also will not be part of my business. I have no shame reaching out to Black Americans beyond Chicago. Before I cut and run to Africa, I want to get this Christian business up and running in Chicago first. I want my advisory board or resource team to have associate's degree or above. I want Black attorneys, African attorneys, investors, financial planners, marketers, Black entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and philanthropists. As it pertains to our film project, I'm looking for a legitimate Black filmmaker or a legitimate African filmmaker. Film directors, producers, actors, stage managers, professional fundraisers, technical directors, and marketers to, to read my story first. And if you agree with my vision and plan, then reach out to me. But I want you to be on standby, because I'm not making any moves. I'm not gonna pay any pie. Sorry, tongue twisted. I'm not gonna pay anyone yet until we are able to raise that $250,000. Then I will review everyone's credentials. Those who will be a part of our film project will go down in history with me and Sister Renee. This film will be made in Chicago and surrounding suburbs. I need Black Americans who identify as DAS FM, descendants of American slaves / freemen, to stand up. After all, this business is for you and your children, especially those of you who reside in Chicago. I need GRCAI members across the United States of America to participate in our monthly virtual town hall meetings in order to help spread our information and for us to get this film project fully funded and made. I don't want to waste any more time online. Either you are part of the problem or you're part of the solution. That's how it is. GRCAI members, both DAS FM and African immigrants from 10 African nations, which are as follows: South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Angola, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. GRCAI members will help me build and run GRCAI of Chicago. Black Americans will heal. Okay, in this business, Black Americans will heal from the slave mentality, which is Willie Lynch, and African immigrants will heal from that colonized mindset. Both groups will learn how to respect each other's cultures, learn how to trust one another, and do business with each other for credibility before we expand and replicate GRCAI in 10 African nations. Once we obtain a physical building, then we will encourage local residents on the west side of Chicago, in Austin, Garfield Park, and North Lawndale, which is the Black community, to attend our mandatory orientation. Everyone must sign the community pledge, pass our criminal background checks, and those who are 18 and above must submit their thumbprint to be placed in our database. In time, we will offer a second chance program for people of non-violent crimes, former gang members, and homeless individuals within our community, depending on our budget and sponsorship. Cal Chicago will raise the bar in Black America by separating ourselves from the enemy within our racial group, who are con artists, Black Boule, degenerates, Democrat shields, hardened criminals, pedophiles, off code Negroes, and urban terrorists. There will be consequences in place to handle such persons through our Judas list. Eventually, we'll make our presence known on the south side of Chicago in both the low income Black community and the middle class Black community. Over here, we are M1, meaning we are melanated first. Nothing else on earth matters. Our focus is on solving Black issues in America, point blank. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying a lot of people sitting up here getting, I don't want to be doing this another 34 years. This is ridiculous. It's a straight up turnoff. And I don't like it. Um, DAS FM will benefit from GRCAI of Chicago because we will focus on strengthening the Black family or descendants of American slaves / freeman lineage. We will offer utility bill assistance to our members based on our budget and sponsorship. In addition, we will offer food pantry to assist our members once a month with free grocery and clothing. The Cow of Chicago is nonpartisan. We do not endorse political candidates, parties, or contribute to campaigns. Instead, the Cow of Chicago will advocate on issues affecting Black people by working with elected officials across the political spectrum. We will provide our members and students with nonpartisan information on candidates' position on health, financial security, and quality of life. Our priority is to strengthen the Black family and the Black community, as well as become an advocate for DAS FM in healthcare, stability, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. Some of my critics ask me, what are some of the benefits of being a GRCAI member? GRCAI members will have an opportunity to audition for roles in our Black empowerment films, discount at our live concerts, um, on our, at our Black-owned grocery store, our hotel, our fitness center, and our child care services, access to our digital magazines and digital bulletin boards. We won't be limited to just filmmaking. We will also create our own music and stage plays. This will bring revenue back into the low income Black community. The Chi of Chicago will offer an associate degree program, vocational training, and financial literacy. One of the things that I will champion when I expand the Chi of Chicago to Africa is the African Continental Free Trade. Um, and that's gonna. I want to. The first African nation I'm willing to go to is Kenya. That's if the Kenyan people receive me. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going places that they won't receive me. That's how I feel, doggone it. So we'll see. But we're gonna get it popping here first for credibility, and that's real. That's why it's important for African immigrants to get on board with this. And some people want to call themselves trying to be slick and wait till I start making money and all this stuff to try to come around. That's not going to work. Not at all. I'll show you better than I can tell you. That's all I'm saying. The African continental free trade will allow Africa to export goods to other markets. In Africa, they have a 1.59 billion people population, so we can plug Black Chicago into that market so that we can exchange good between Africa and Black Chicago, um, tariff free. The sooner we get Cacao Chicago up and running in America, then I will come to Africa, starting in Kenya, for bilateral talks with the Kenyan government behind closed doors. We bring the best of Black Americans with me. We will bring our talents and skills to help improve each African nation that will receive me in exchange for dual citizenship and land. We're trying to lay a foundation for something much bigger, a partnership that could benefit both the low income Black community and the middle class Black community, and vice versa. Cross sector investments connecting businesses on both sides of the ocean. My, my meeting with the Kenyan government will consist of talks about trade and tourism, cooperation, technical partnerships, and perhaps importantly, the possibility of creating a direct bridge between Black Chicago and Africa's 3.4 trillion continental free trade market. I believe it could become one of the most important Africa Black America partnerships of our generation. And that's how it could serve as a roadmap. For more than 400 years, the Atlantic Ocean connected Africa and the United States of America through one of humanity's greatest tragedies. It carried gold, it carried sugar, it carried unimaginable wealth, but most of all, it carried millions of our ancestors away from Africa. For centuries, that ocean symbolized extraction, separation, and loss. Today, that same ocean connects us through trade, investment, and partnership. If Kenya and Black Chicago succeed, then this may give the rest of Africa and Black America a roadmap for building a future together. This future meeting will help advance partnership in areas such as trade and investment, tourism, health, education, and cultural, while reaffirming our shared determination to translate historical solidarity into economic tangible for our people. This future meeting can serve as an important platform for dialogue and practical cooperation between our two countries. This is why it's so important that African immigrants in North America get on board, because we this will help advance our shared agenda and and produce important outcomes, including the agreement on cooperation in the field of arts and culture. We we cannot afford to allow small-minded individuals who don't have anything going on to ruin this opportunity. We have through social media. It is a good thing that we are finally making history after 34 years of being online. GRCAI members are reviving the commitment that moving forward is in the best interest of our children and our people globally. GRCAI of Chicago and Kenya will focus on trade, investment, tourism, art and culture, technical cooperation, and healthcare, workforce partnership, and business. These are the kinds of agreements that countries sign when they are thinking about long term national interests. Cacao Chicago will attempt to build an ecosystem with Kenya, an ecosystem where Africa and Black America aren't connected by memory but alone, but by people moving, business investing, professional corporation, ideas flowing in both directions. That's a very different conversation from the one we've been having for the past 50 years. For decades, when we talk about reconnecting Africa and Black America, the conversation was almost always about the past, our shared history, our shared pain, our shared identity. But history by itself doesn't create jobs, it doesn't create trade, it doesn't build industries, it doesn't transform economies. Cacao Chicago is trying to move the relationship beyond remembrance and into a shared prosperity that both Black America and Africa can benefit from. We're looking at something far more ambitious than just travel and tourism. We're looking at a new Atlantic partnership. For nearly 400 years, the Atlantic Ocean was one of the biggest trade routes in the New World. It transported gold, ivory, sugar, cotton, Rome, and millions of enslaved Africans, which were my ancestors. The Atlantic Ocean was the engine of a global economic system, a system that generated enormous amount of wealth for European economies while leaving Africa undeveloped economically. Western nations were built on the backs of slave labor. The United States of America and Europe accumulated their wealth off the backs of enslaved Africans. Africa enslavement in North America, South America, and in the Caribbean created an enormous amount of wealth, which funded which funded banks, financial industry, and transformed the global balance of power. Even after slavery ended, the structure of the relationship didn't change because the white supremacist financial elites are still living off of slave labor due to generational wealth that's passed down from one generation to the next. Africa, Black America, the Caribbean, and South America remains connected by memory, but completely disconnected culturally. African countries trade more with Europe than with Black America or the Caribbean. Caribbean nations trade more with North America and Europe than with Africa. Our music and movies travel, but our economies remain stagnant. This is why I created GRCAI to connect Black activists, Black advocates, African av- activists, African advocates, Black entrepreneurs, Black artists, African artists to come forth and work with me directly in moving GRCAI from behind a computer, first on the big screen, then in the within the communities in Chicago for credibility before we expand to 10 African nations in and hopefully 25 cities within 25 states in across the United States of America. It's also my hope that Cacao Chicago would become a franchise on the global stage, just like McDonald's. For generations, we celebrated our shared history, our shared heritage, yet build our future separately. Look at what's happening today. Instead of an economic build on extraction, now there's an attempt to build based on investment, trade, innovation, shared opportunity. I believe that Cacao Chicago and Kenya could increase tourism, increase investment, and make it easier for entrepreneurs, students, and families to move back and forth between two nations. This would give Kenya opportunities in hospitality, agricultural business, technology, and much more. These aren't industries of the past. These are industries that are shaping the future. Kakai of Chicago is not just interested in doing trade with Kenya. We're interested in using Kenya as a gateway into nine other African nations and eventually the entire Sub-Saharan African market. The market of more than 1.5 billion people as a completely different level of ambition. This time it is economic emancipation for our people, and we have no option than to work together to bring our competitive advantage together to be able to create the prosperity that our people deserve. Africa has a market of 1.4 billion people with a GDP of almost $3 trillion. So that opportunity is available, and vice versa. Getting Kenyans to invest in our Black middle class communities and our Black low income communities in Chicago through real estate, Black institutions, and our Black manufacturing companies. We can plug Black Chicago in so that we can exchange goods between Kenya and Chicago under the duty free, tariff free program. Kai of Chicago would love to have an opportunity to be a part of Africa's Continental Free Trade Agreement. You see, the African Continental Free Trade is the largest free trade in the world by the number of participating countries. It brings together more than 1.4 billion people into a single market, allowing African countries to trade goods with reduce or eliminate tariffs. My question when I talk with African government officials is, can Gakayo Chicago be included in that agreement? Think about the impact that would have in our Black community. Chicago, instead of Gakayo Chicago seeing Kenya as another export market, Gakayo Chicago could potentially see Kenya as a gateway into the entire African continent. And instead of Kenya viewing Gurkai of Chicago as a distant business partner, they could begin seeing us as a strategic gateway into Black America. That's completely different way of thinking about trade, expanding it, expanding its framework to formally include Gurkai of Chicago would require significant legal, political, and industrial negotiations. For decades, conversation between Africa and Black America have largely revolved around history. What I am trying to do with Gurkai of Chicago is to take our Black Christian business to the next level by saying, what if we can build an economic future that is just as ambitious as our shared past experience? Even if part of that vision becomes reality, it could fundamentally change how Africa and Black America do business for generations to come. The economic inequalities that the white supremacist financial elites impose on us haven't magically disappeared. They are still here. It's time for Africa, Black America, Brazil, and the Caribbeans to begin writing our own story and working together for the sake of Black children and African children. The Atlantic is no longer simply a reminder of what was taken from us, but a bridge connecting what we can build together. Could this be the beginning of a new Black Atlantic? In Cacao, Chicago, we're looking to exchange our future teachers, physics and math teachers, science teachers, for Kenyan teachers, physics and math teachers, science teachers. For centuries, the Atlantic connected Africa, South America, North America, and the Caribbean because other people designed that relationship. European empires decided what would move across the ocean. They decided where people could go. They decided who could profit. Africa and the Caribbeans didn't write the rules, but they live with the consequences. But today we have the opportunity to design that relationship ourselves. Kenya and the Kai of Chicago could someday conduct joint research on renewable energy, artificial intelligence, public health, or agriculture. Imagine musicians, filmmakers, fashion designers, and digital creators collaborating not because they're invited to a festival, but because they're building business together. That's what I mean by a new Black Atlantic. We celebrate each other's struggle. We honor our shared history, but emotional connection by itself doesn't build wealth. Institutions do. Capital does. Trade does. Policy does. Our shared history should be the foundation of our partnership, not the limit of it. Our ancestors gave us a common story. Our responsibility is to build a common future. If I succeed in bringing GRCAI of Chicago to Kenya through Africa, Africa's free trade agreement, how transformative could that really be in our low income Black community and our Black middle class community? Africa is not only the birthplace of our ancestors, but as one of the greatest opportunities of our generation. So, whether you're interested in history, culture, business, investment, or simply seeing the continent through a new lens, we love to have you join us when we begin hosting our African tours, Brazilian tours, and our Caribbean tours. Bottom line, as long as we remain in America, we will be treated as third, fourth, and fifth class citizens because the foundation of the United States of America is anti Black racism, which was the law of the land before the U.S. Constitution was written. Our people fought in every single war, and yet we are still treated like trash. And that's not cool at all. Forget that. Our grandparents march and protest, begging the descendant of slave owners for freedom, justice, and equality. That can't happen because it goes against white supremacy. We are creating GRCAI of Chicago for Black Americans who are unable to leave due to their finances. As for me, in my house, I am reclaiming my ancestral homeland, which is Africa. DAS FM, along with Native Africans, are going to reclaim our continent and our birthright. Those who remain in America, just know you got to stand and fight. You have to look out for each other. There wouldn't be no America if Black Americans didn't build it. They couldn't have left us. They could have left us where we were. They were nowhere. We were nowhere near Europeans. They cannot do anything on their own. That's why they flooded this country with immigrants so that they can have cheap labor. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comments section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites that you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. I am a Black American, a descendant of American slaves slash freedmen. I am called to help improve the lives of Black Americans who become GRCAI members and build a connection with African immigrants who want to be a part of us. GRCAI members will assist me in building and running this Christian business, GRCAI of Chicago, so that both groups, Black Americans and African immigrants, can build and heal from the scars of slavery and colonization. My people who have the moral capital, our fight for civil rights and human rights, this business is for you and your immediate family members. Thank you for listening to our audio podcast and joining us on the stream. We greatly appreciate it. I need for you to support our film project so that we can move GRCAI to the next level. That is the big screen, to let the Black world know who we are and who we're trying and what we're trying to do for descendants of American slaves slash freemen those who reside in the low income Black community. Quote, Hood Liberator made in Chicago, the war against Willie Lynch begins, unquote. You can be a part of this historic docudrama by contributing to our crowdfunding pages, which are our GoFundMe page, our Buy Me a Coffee page, or our PayPal Giving Fund page, which will help fund marketing, promotion, clearance, legal, and general expenses. Thank you for listening to our YouTube live or the replay. If you reside on the African continent, then I recommend that you follow me on my Pod Chaser because it'll eat away your bundles. It's only audio. I provide the link in the comment section below this audio podcast. If you are new to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast, welcome to our safe space where we discuss Black issues and African issues. We do this every week. This will conclude our audio podcast for today. Like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next episode. Now, before I leave, we're gonna finish watching some videos. Those of you that's serious about what I'm saying, just stick around. We appreciate it. Okay. Let's see. Let's check this out. Okay, so fair use for all these videos that I'm playing. Just putting it out there. Fair use.
Family, welcome back to the African Diaspora News channel. My name is Lenience Akotunu. There was an altercation between an employer and his employee, a shocking knockout no one saw coming. The confrontation was between a Chinese employer and his Zimbabwean employee. Now, one would have expected the employer to have an upper hand because, of course, because of his status, as the employer and the Chinese boss in Zimbabwe. But no one expected the dramatic turn that came with it. During the confrontation, this Chinese employer was knocked out by his Zimbabwean employee, and it left onlookers stunned. I mean, he was knocked out. He was literally on his butt in a pool of water. Well, certainly not how anyone expected a workplace dispute to end, but that was how it ended. Family, it was a funny scenario. These Chinese bosses keep acting as though they are big. And for one thing we've seen over the years is their exploitation, how they exploit Africans, Nigerians, Zimbabweans. So wherever they find themselves, let's not even start naming these African countries right now. Wherever they find themselves, they tend to exploit their workers. And this was the case in this story. This young man wanted to talk to this man. How do I get my salary? How do I get my money? And all of a sudden, the employer, the Chinese boss, started acting all aggressive. He came to this man with his fist, started acting aggressive, and this Zimbabwean employee gave him what he couldn't handle. Let's watch the video, and then we'll come back to talk about it.
Think about where knowledge lives in most organizations. Before long.
So, family, in that video, as you saw, this Chinese employer was on his butt. With his wobbly legs, he tried to stand up. They tried to help him stand, but he couldn't. They had to assist him. I wonder how you throw a fist. Did you see the man you're trying to fight? Well, let's talk about what happened in this story, family. This Zimbabwean employee asked his Chinese boss about unpaid wages and his salary. I mean, it's right for me to ask my boss about my salary if I've not been paid for months. It's proper to ask about my salary. I mean, why is this man working? And instead of this Chinese employer to respond this man in the most diplomatic way possible, he resorted to exchanging blows. I mean, look at who he's exchanging blows with. And guess what happened? This exchange of blows and arguments they had this Chinese employer on his butt in that pool of water, as we saw in that video. And this happened at a construction site, as we saw. I mean, these stories are usually at a construction site. You either hear that they came for daily work and they weren't paid their daily wages, or they were exploited, or the money was reduced. It's what they usually do. You would think that because these are foreign companies, they would pay more, but they kind of adjust to the system. Where they get to a particular place, they adjust to the system and they see how these guys are being paid in their own country. So they pay them what they're being paid. Sometimes they reduce it. They bring it down a little. So for example, in Nigeria, an employee is paid 5,000 naira daily wages. When these guys come, they reduce it to 4,000 naira. Some of them, you might be lucky to see the one that would pay above that money. Right? So we have this video of a Nigerian who works for a Chinese, but at the end of the day, he wasn't paid. He was exploited. He was paid 3,200 naira from this video. And this guy said, I had to leave where I was, came to this place to work. How do I go back? I mean, I'm going to pay my tea fare. I'm going to eat. How do I go back? Now, when you go to a daily work, you hope that whatever you make should be enough to cover your transportation fare, as well as feed you or feed anybody you take care of, at least a sizable portion of food. But that wasn't the case with this man. He exploited this guy and started shouting on top of his voice. Let's watch the video.
Master, 3,200. No, master, everything. All about the worker. Me work. No, so this time you work. Come on, boy, work. Come on, work. You see me come work. Come on, work. Me no. Me no. Come on, stop. Come on, work. Me slap. You come on, work. Me no do you. You come on, work. 7:30 something. You come on, 7:30 something. Money me go work. It's gonna house man. You come. You change. You don't come. Give my own paper. No, master.
So you see, family, that this is a pattern. We talk about belts in road initiatives, constructions, and everything. You see that these jobs, these projects are handed over to the Chinese companies, Chinese governments. We wonder if there are no Africans or Black people good enough that our governments can actually partner with, that the African governments can partner with. But you see this thing, I don't know if it's an obsession or they're in it. It's a 50-50 thing. It's a win-win for them. I give this to you and you give this to me, because we wonder how these guys are in Nigeria and some of our African countries mining illegally, doing illegal businesses, yet nothing has been done to stop them. It simply means, in a way, the governments have a hand in what is happening. Because I won't see something going wrong and not step in to help. So they keep flexing their muscles as though they can beat Black people, Africans. They cannot. Place a Chinese person and a Black person side by side. You discover that a Black person is going to beat this Chinese person hands down. But for some weird reasons, they like picking fights where they cannot handle. They like picking fights. And sometimes they think they're bosses, so anything can happen and they would go scot-free. But I love this awareness. I love how Africans are coming to their senses. They're waking up. Yes. Now no one is taking nonsense from these guys anymore. And that is a lot of this Chinese employer right here. He thought he could mess with this Zimbabwean, and this Zimbabwean wasn't going to take it easy with him. Well, would need this to continue if they keep acting that way, if they keep acting wrongly. I don't want to use a very, very, if they keep acting that way, we need this to continue. Keep showing these guys that they can come to your countries, our African nations, and act in this way. What do you have to say about this story? Well, like I said, this is yet another knockout. We hope that these Chinese bosses learn their lessons, but if they don't, I guess we'll see more knockouts. We love our brothers and sisters standing for themselves. That's what we love to see. In the face of injustice, this is what we love to see. If this employer refuses to talk diplomatically and raises a fist, because according to this story, it wasn't the man that raised his fist first. It wasn't the Zimbabwean man. It was this Chinese man. Because they feel they can. And so the Zimbabwean man retaliated. and it led to this. We do not advise you to stand and allow a man beat you. We've seen videos where they use rod to beat Africans. That should not repeat itself, family. Don't you think so? Comment what you think about the story, and do not forget to share, like, subscribe, and turn on your notification button, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Lenient Akotunu. Thank you for.
He was in the best.
Humanitarian immigration policy, which allowed in June, effectively striking down temporary protected status. That's a humanitarian immigration policy which allowed certain migrant groups to work in the United States. More than 300,000 people from Haiti have just lost that designation. And as our Christian Benavides reports, it could impact nursing care, hotels, restaurants, and more.
The Chef Creole restaurant in Miami's Little Haiti neighborhood is typically bustling with customers. Not today.
People are scared.
Owner Wilkinson Sajor says it's not just the clientele. After 34 years in business, he's lost his entire management team at 7 locations and will likely have to shut down 2 stores due to the end of temporary protected status.
The end of TPS means for me that my future in the hospitality business is almost going to be non-existent.
On Sunday, federal officers made an immigration arrest outside one of his restaurants.
I voted for Donald Trump.
What would you say to the president that you voted for?
He sold to me that he is a businessman and that he will be making business decisions.
Do you regret your vote?
Yes, I do.
Despite reports from the United Nations of escalating gang violence fueling displacement in Haiti, the Trump administration has stated the country no longer meets the conditions for TPS designation. TPS holder Farah LaRue has been living in the United States since 2005. We met her last year as she prepared for the end of the program. Today, she's in hiding.
There's people that say, well, temporary protected status is supposed to be temporary.
Why are you so focused on temporary and not focusing on protected when the law is about protecting those who cannot go back to their country?
LaRue is among the 330,000 Haitian nationals living in the U.S. with TPS.
I want the world to know that going back to Haiti is a death sentence.
In fact, the State Department has a level 4 travel advisory warning Americans not to travel to Haiti. Haitian Americans that I spoke to said that some have started carrying around their U.S. passports because they're concerned about being targeted by immigration enforcement.
Christian, thank you.
This morning, I was listening to the radio, and there was a brother on there who was talking about the difference between passion and progress. And he used Kanye West as an example during Katrina. Y'all remember when he said that Bush does not like Black people? Well, he kind of said that it was passion, right? But there was really no progress because behind that, there should have been, I guess, things and organizations to actually move the ball forward to, I guess, make politicians care about Black folks so that we could get some progress. Well, when I was listening to that, I'm like, okay, but why are we, and I'm not saying he was necessarily advocating that, but why are we always waiting for somebody else to help us with progress? Black folks, we are the best people ever walking planet Earth. As we always run around saying, hey, we built this place, right? It was built on our backs, America, and a whole lot of things all over the world, okay, as Black folks. But we are always being told about progress. Progress means kind of like it's moving in the right direction, and it may be slowly but surely. But how long have we as Black Americans especially heard progress? Our ancestors have heard about progress. But when I think about progress, I also think about the Wall Streets, Madam C.J. Walkers and all of them. Do you think they was waiting on progress from white folks or politicians or anybody outside of themselves? We got to remember, they came right off the plantation, and Madam C.J. Walker, she's the daughter of a slave. And I know I wasn't there, but just something tells me she wasn't like, well, I'm going to wait for, I don't know, Woodrow Wilson or whoever would have been the president at the time. I'm going to wait for them to give Black folks progress. I have this idea, you know, I'm thinking about some hair grease and shampoo and skincare and all these other things for my people, but I'm just going to wait and see what a politician is going to do if we could get some progress. She's like, no, I'm going to progress myself in the kitchen. Okay. And I'm going to put this and that together so that the sisters and the brothers could, you know, be moisturized and all of that. Okay. Now, I know progress usually means, especially in the political realm, oh, we just got to vote the right way. We got to vote long enough. We got to actually get out there and protest, right? Reverend Al Sharpton is having a protest, a march on Washington on August 28th about something, right? He's always having a march or whatever. That's great. But as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said at a coven, right? Tabitha Smiley used to have those back in the day, one of those conferences. He was like, man, we've been marching on Washington for jobs forever, okay? And then he said, how long? And then somebody in the background said, not long. Because we're used to saying that right on cue. How long? Not long. But he was like, wait a minute. We've been marching forever, okay? Marching, I'm assuming, you know, in hopes of progress. Somebody give us some jobs. We just keep marching. And surely he was like, why we can't do it for ourselves? What's wrong with us?
Hey, I need to launch a campaign in 2 weeks. Let's see.
We can't create our own jobs? I mean, especially now. They say right now we have nearly $2 trillion spending power in the Black community here in America. But we also know that we give 97% of that away. So wouldn't we be able to have a little bit of progress if we just kept, they said 10% of that money? We can do wonders. We can build businesses. We can hire our own people. We can open up our own schools, museums if we want, because that seems to be a point of contention. All Trump and them, they taking this out of the Smithsonian and the African American Museum. But as the minister also said when he was talking about Kanye, you know, when they was really putting it to him and took his wealth and all of that, he said, and he was speaking to Kanye, you know, if they could take it from you, was it ever really yours? And so the same thing applies to us with these museums and all these things. Did those museums, or do they belong to us as Black folks here in America? If the government can come and say, well, we're going to take this and take that and change this and take that and all that. No, what belongs to us is what we pay for 100%. And as I say, yeah, I know that museum there in Washington, 50% donations and 50% the government, is still 100% did not belong to us. So when we start funding our own museums, we could put whatever we want in there. We don't have to, you know, be told, oh, we don't think that's going to look right with the aesthetics. We want everybody to, you know, come in here and feel welcome. Well, you know, if seeing a man with whips on his back is part of American, not Black history, right? But it's American history that happened to Black folks. If that's what happened, yeah, people should see that. We don't want to sanitize the horrible things that happen to our people. And of course, we as Black Americans, we're not just a summation, if you will, of horrible things. We're a lot of great things. But what I'm saying is when we own 100% of that, we could put what we want to put in there. We don't have to ask permission or cry and stoke fear and everybody. See, they taking the museum, so that means that you're in danger. Nah. So progress means, okay, bet we learn from that. We pool our money together. We get us a museum. It's ours. That's progress. That's real progress. But I kind of figure that hope and change is the progress that they're talking about, right? You just keep hoping alive. Obama, you know, his was hope and change. And as Ann Coulter said, nobody ever asked Obama to define what hope and change meant. We all just said it. But now we know we were hoping that he changed his mind and actually do something for Black folks. And now we know that he was never going to do that. As he has said before, and I've illustrated before, when he had his podcast, The Renegades, with Bruce Springsteen, he was like, yeah, I know all the struggles of Black Americans here, slavery, Jim Crow, and all these other things, but I just didn't want to make white people mad. That's kind of what he said, right? Because, they would say the welfare queen and this, that, and the other song. I just didn't do it. Although he did things specifically for everybody else. So even Obama wasn't progress. We thought, yeah, okay, if you want to just deduce it down to, okay, we got a Black president. Is it progress? In that sense, yeah. But real progress would have been, we got a Black president, and now he is like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be running the country, but now I'm also going to make sure that the most neglected people here in the United States of America are actually going to get something now, okay? I'm not going to sit on my hands and make all these empty promises like everybody else has been doing. Progress means I actually do something. And yeah, I understand people will get mad, but it's just the right thing to do. But Obama wasn't progress. He was symbolism. So who are we waiting to give us this progress? We are who we're waiting for. We've already illustrated. We got the money. We got the voting power. We just don't use it right. We don't. We keep using it for our party, who will take and give everybody else progress. Think about that. The Democratic Party gets most of their votes from Black folks, and they go and we get to watch them do progress for everybody else but us. And then we, as I talked about in another video, we're mad at everybody else, but we're not mad at ourselves for continuing on with the foolishness that happens to us. So yeah, what is real progress? Real progress is actually moving the ball forward with the might and the power and the money and the votes that we have to make our own community the way it should be, okay? Also, in closing, progress means that we don't get to hear politicians and all these other people talking about, well, crime is going down in the community. But then you hear, Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so say, I'm scared to go outside because, somebody might do something to me. So the politicians, they'll say, well, progress is, the crime rate is going down. Oh, yeah, well, what's the crime rate now? Oh, it's still 95%, but it went down 5%. Okay, but we still got 95% of crime. I know that's not the number. I'm just using it for an example. So real progress is that we police and to control our own community, right? We get out there and say, hey, knucklehead, you better stop. Otherwise, and y'all fill in the blanks, okay? I can't really go into all that on here because I used to tell y'all, and I tell y'all all the time, what my daddy would do. May Allah be pleased with him. So anyway, for more insightful commentary, please subscribe to this channel and my channel, The Demetra K Show, here on YouTube. Peace.
Those jobs, the white folks don't want to do them. The Black Americans don't want to do them because they're lazy. Do you know who comes to this country and do all these jobs? It'd be the Mexicans, the Haitians, and all of the above. But then again, I see a lot of folks, especially Black Americans, that says, oh, they're stealing all jobs. You didn't even want to work anyway to even begin with. Y'all don't even fucking work to even begin with. See what I'm saying? If we're trying to be racist, let's just be racist all the way. If we want to be racist, let's just be racist all the way. I know a lot of Black niggas right now. Black Americans. They sell drugs. They smoke weed every day, and they fucking lazy. It's a lot of y'all. Whereas you got those other folks that come to this country, seems that they have a faith, they believe in something. And also, too, it's all about the culture is about making our parents proud. Do you get what I'm saying? And so when I see Black Americans talking about, oh, more jobs for us, nigga, you didn't want to work. You lazy. You know what I'm saying? You're not doing shit for your country. You think all these folks that's going back, you think healthcare gonna be better? You think that's gonna make the country better? It's not. These folks pay taxes. You niggas sell drugs. Yeah, don't go to school. The culture is if you're an immigrant, you come to this country and you go to school. A lot of you niggas don't go to school, and I'm talking about the Black Americans. Yeah, niggas don't go to school. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Sell dope, sell drugs, end up in prison, and then you blame the white folks. And then you end up on EBT. Now, guess where the motherfucking EBT coming from? From the Haitians and the immigrants that work hard and they pay taxes. Do you get what I'm saying? So when you really think about it, who's actually making this country better? Is it some of you Black Americans that don't do shit for your country? Or is it the folks, is it the immigrants that come to this country and do something? Earlier. A lot of those jobs, the white folks don't want to do them.
I heard people saying that delineation is like a form of white supremacy, or is a MAGA, I guess, co-op, or if you will. Well, what's your thoughts on delineation and the whole talking narrative about, it being white supremacy adjacent? What's your thoughts?
Man, that's a great question, and thank you for that caveat. I think so. I'm gonna disagree with the sisters on this one. I think delineation is divisive, and we are late to the party, right? And so while we're getting the pushback, and now to even that caveat, so I'm glad you said that, the reason why you get the MAGA accusations is because everybody else that delineated did it for divisiveness, right? They did it with animus. They did it with hatred. They did it so that they would not be confused with us based on all the things that we talked about earlier, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can kind of distance yourself from foundational Black Americanness, then you can be in the good graces of white folks, right? So the reason why we get the accusations is because in their heart of hearts, they know why they delineated, right? So now when we talk about is foundational Black American delineation divisive, then the answer to that is no. Mm-hmm. And so that's the nuance that I want to put on the conversation. Their delineation has always been about hate, whether it's white folks delineating from us, everybody that has ever delineated from us has done it so that it will be to our detriment and to be to their advantage, right? We're not doing that because not that we don't care in that way, but we don't have that type of mindset. We're delineating, like Sister Keisha said, because it is about survival at this point. And so what's happening is that the MAGA accusation comes down to it's a lazy coping mechanism, right? And what happens is that anything that goes against any ideology that supports them is white supremacy, right? Even when they are parroting white supremacist tropes, they never put the white supremacist tag on themselves, even though they are being highly anti-Black, right? And by Black, I mean foundation Black American. We can get to that portion of the conversation later down the line about who's Black, who's not, right? And why. But the bottom line is that throughout their entire processes of being anti-Black, they never put the MAGA or right-wing tag on themselves. But as soon as we start to talk about anything that's going to benefit solely us, we get the MAGA tag, not just from the Afro-immigrants. We get it from the Pan-Africans. We get it from the Democrats. We get it from anybody. Because what we found in this delineation process, see, we're delineating, again, because it's a necessity as far as survival. But like you said as well, with the I won't call it a diaspora war, but I will respect your opinion, but I will call it the diaspora's war against us, right? And so what we found and what we find is that us delineating changes the game for everybody that's not us. Because at one point we thought, or most of us thought, that sitting at the table that's on our backs, right? It's a meme that I saw a while ago, and it's like it's a playing board, and underneath, as the feet of the table, are Black America or Black backs, right? And we know those are foundational Black American backs in this country. And for a long time, I thought that the only people playing that board game on the backs of foundational Black Americans were the were the white supremacists. I'm thinking I'm on TikTok. Were the white supremacists, right? But as we started to delineate, and I was able to, as I was straightening up my back and I was able to peek over the table, I saw a whole bunch of people's faces that looked like mine at that table as well. Because not only do the white supremacists play the game on our back, so do the Pan-Africans. So do the Boule. So do the Afro-immigrants and all their corrupt leaders. So it's a big game now was always being played that they kept us under the table with whispers of, hold on. You got to do this for the diaspora. You got to do this for Black folks. You got to help all of us out. Not knowing that those whispers were coming from the top of the table. We thinking it was coming from somewhere, like it was some ancestral voice that was whispering to us, right? Like Mufasa and the Lion King. And what we found out was that it was other people playing the game, making sure they kept us at the bottom. And so, delineation is not divisive. But I will say this, because we know the accusations are going to come. And I was watching the play Hamilton, not when it was in the theaters, because on Broadway, because I couldn't afford that. But when they put it on Disney Plus, I watched it, right? And it was a line in there that Hamilton says, and Manuel says it because he's playing Hamilton, and he says, "I'd rather be divisive than indecisive." And that stuck with me, because despite us knowing that it's not divisive, if that's who I gotta be, right, to make the decisions that I didn't make for my people and how we move forward, then I'll be that, right? I will be divisive if that's what it takes, because I already know that your delineation was based on divisiveness anyway from the start. And here's what's really powerful about it, and how we know, like I said, it's a coping mechanism, and it's because what we do disrupts the system. And I'll talk about New York, since we're all New Yorkers and that's where we're at right now. Was the AAPI community divisive when they disaggregated and delineated? Because the state of New York pushed that bill and signed it in 2021, because the Chinese, the Cambodians, the Koreans, the Japanese, the Filipino, the Thai, they wanted representation. Was the MENA group, Middle East and North Africans, were they divisive when their bill got signed in 2024? No. MENA was trying to get out of whiteness, because if you from the Middle East or North Africa, you was white prior to 2024, right? So if you was Egypt, Syria, Saudi Arabia, those people are white when they come to America. And that's a whole nother question. A whole nother conversation, like Sister Lovely was talking about, when you tell them who's white and who's not, and when they jump in and out of that. But the bottom line is that it's only divisive when we do it. Just the same way we're the only community that gets undermined and our towns get bombed. Why? Because of who we are, because of our unique constitutional relationship with this country.
That's right.
When we are empowered, it has the potential and the possibilities to upend the entire system, because the system was not built on anti-Black. And so that is a myth that has been going on for too long. And that's what they come in on, the Afro-immigrants and the Pan-Africans. They prey on that particular notion. I want everybody to know, moving forward, from this point forward, that this country was built on anti-foundational Black Americanness. And everybody else that comes in catches the strays, no pun intended, from looking like, acting like, or proximity to foundational Black Americanness. And how do we know that? Because when we were being enslaved, you had Africans coming and going. You had Caribbeans coming and going that weren't enslaved. During Jim Crow, you had Africans and Caribbeans petitioning this government to give them pins, so that when they went around the Jim Crow South, people would know that they were not foundational Black American.
Speak on it.
But if it was just based on race, then there would be nothing you could do. But it was never based on race. And that kind of segues to the other conversation you have. See, because black in this country always meant our ethnic group. But because we were the only black ethnic group here, you didn't have to make any distinction.
Makes sense. Yeah, I get it.
After 1965, you get people in that the government is now calling black, and now all of a sudden black becomes a racial category. And so because we are now exposing all of this from top to bottom, now that's why we're gonna get called everything in the book. I don't know what's gonna be next, right? But my position from where I sit is that whatever I have to be, see, it's a Black American proverb, pun intended, that my mother taught me. It's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. So you could call me whatever you want. I'll be all of that. The only thing I'm answering to, though, is Foundation Black American.
Now we got to go help people customize and save hundreds.
Yeah, we back. Yeah, we back. Now, today's going to be a quick video, going to be reacting to Tariq Nasheed exposes the FBA ideology. Tariq Nasheed exposes the FBA movement. Now, recently, there was a video that went viral of this gentleman. I believe they said that he was engaged in a physical altercation against some Argentinians. I believe it might have been a World Cup event, maybe a World Cup watch party. I don't know, right? But anyway, so, this brother, he was standing his ground against some alleged racist Argentinians. And Tariq Nasheed actually posted the video. And he said this, take a look up on the screen. Some Argentina soccer fans had to get G-checked by some FBA brothers. Now, of course, when you went into the comment section, like I said, typical chest beating, penis measuring contest. We're the best ethnic group. We're the best blacks. All the other blacks are beneath us. All the other blacks are inferior, right? The FBA movement, typical ideology, right? So let's take a look at some of the reactions on social media. And then we're going to get into the fact that the brother in the video was actually a Nigerian. Yeah, a Niger man, right? He was actually Nigerian. But we're going to look at some of the reactions that the video got after Tariq Nasheed posted it on the social media. Take a look up on the screen. This person said, those guys are not those submissive Africans they are used to encountering, right? There you go. Anyway, let's continue. This person said, they're used to picking on the docile blacks in their countries. They watch too many novellas. They don't know that we fought against white terrorists without backup for hundreds of years while being outnumbered. And we'll bring it to anybody, win, lose, or draw. This person said, they're used to dogging those Africans out. We're Americans. We don't play with racists no matter where you come from. This person said, foreigners are used to dealing with the docile Africans. Black Americans are the warrior class. This person said, Argentinians are quickly finding out that FBAs are not like the Africans in the Caribbean. This person said, I'm not surprised. The only people on the planet that consistently confront and oppose white supremacy. So I think this person is saying that, us as the FBAs, we're the only ones on the planet that confront white supremacy. Everybody else is inferior. They don't do nothing, right? The chest beating, penis measuring contest. Like I told you in my video I did about O'Shea the other day. At first, it started as a noble cause, right? We're going to pursue the United States government for, past debts, for, past aggression against us, for crimes they committed against us. But then somewhere along the line, it devolved into a penis measuring contest, a chest beating contest. We're the best blacks. Every other black person ain't shit. I'm the best black in the room. Look at me. Look at the size of my penis. I got the biggest penis in the room. The penis measuring contest, the chest beating contest. That's what it is now. Like, it's not even about pursuing the United States government anymore. It's just about flexing on other black people. That's all it is, bro. It's just about flexing your alleged superiority over other black people, measuring your penis, who got the biggest penis, right? That's what it is now. Like I said in my video about O'Shea. Anyway, let's continue. This person said, oh, they thought it was Africa? These people thought this was Africa? This person said, these people think black Americans are those docile Negroes in their homeland or those weak-ass soccer players that be crying about racism. This person said, people need to leave black Americans alone. We are not those Africans or those black Hispanics in their countries that you can push around and be submissive. Now, that was basically the entire comment section, right? That was basically the whole comment section. We are not those Africans. We are not those Caribbeans. We are from North America. So therefore, because of our geographical location, we are superior to other people of the race, right? That was the whole conversation. And that's pretty much the FBA movement in a nutshell. If an alien were to come down here from a faraway planet and they were to ask me, explain the FBA movement in like 10 seconds, that's how I would describe it, right? Right. It's just a penis measuring contest. A bunch of guys standing around basically saying that I have the biggest penis. My penis is bigger than yours. Now, of course, the irony of it all is the fact that, take a look up on the screen, the brother is Nigerian. You go to a social media, the Nigerian flag is available for everybody to see. But because, like I said, when you're in such a rush, right, for whatever reason, to put somebody else down or, elevate yourself to a level of superiority, they didn't even take the 2 seconds to actually verify who is the brother in the video. Like, how could you tell that he was from North America? Like, how do you know that he was so-called FBA? How could you tell, right? Like, what is the verification process? You just did an eyeball test? Oh, I just seen a guy across the room and I assume he's FBA, right? Because what was the criteria for you to assume that he's so-called FBA? There was no criteria. All you did was see a black dude beating up on some racists and you decided to tether onto him. This was the most epic example of tethering that I ever seen. Not only did you try to tether onto a whole Nigerian, a whole West African, but then you tried to use him as an example to put down other Africans, to put down Caribbeans, right? You took a video of a Nigerian to put down other African people. Look at this Nigerian beating up on racists. That's why us as Americans, we're better than other black people. Like, that was the whole conversation, bro. And it just went on and on and on. I mean, I can show you a series of other posts as well. I'm not going to waste your time, but it really exposed what I said about O'Shea. Like, this movement is simply just a penis measuring contest, right? After they got done, beating on their chest about how they're so superior to everybody else, has anything materially changed about their existence? No. Has any progress been made for the black race? No, not at all, right? It was just a cheap dopamine rush for you to feel superior against other black people. And you used a video of an African to claim your alleged superiority, even though you claim that you're not even African. Like I said, man, just garbage movement. Throw this movement in the garbage. Like, after this, I don't want to, like, if anybody come into my comment section claiming this movement, I'm just banning you on site, because this is your movement, right? The movement is just a penis measuring contest. We're better than other black people. But of course, if you press them about it, they just say, oh, the movement is just about, our unique lineage, right? That's all it is. Why you have a problem with us, just expressing our lineage, our unique heritage, right? Everybody else does it. The Haitian does it. The Jamaican does it. The Trinidadian does it. Everybody does it. But when we do it, it's an issue, right? They try to pull out that feminine rebuttal, right? They know what they're doing. They know they're engaging in nefarious activity. When they get pressed on it, they want to I'm just expressing my heritage. Everybody else does it. No, everybody else doesn't do that, right? Everybody else doesn't take random videos of other ethnic groups and then tries to latch onto that. See, this is why we're better, right? I've never seen a Haitian take a video of a random Angolan or a random Senegalese and be like, oh, look at the Senegalese. That's why we Haitians are better than everybody. No, only you doing that garbage. Only you doing that foolishness. That's why your movement is garbage. That's why nobody respects you. That's why you constantly getting called out. Nobody else gets called out when they simply just express their heritage. But because your definition of expressing heritage is a penis measuring contest, right? I have to elevate myself against other black people. You believe that's expressing heritage. And then when you get called out about it, you try to play stupid and just say, oh, I'm just expressing my heritage, right? Very feminine, right? Not manly at all. It's not manly at all to act like that. But anyway, let's take a look at some of the reactions after everybody realized that the guy in the video was actually a whole Nigerian. Take a look up on the screen. This person said, the strangest thing about these captions and these responses is that the guys involved are so obviously African. The one moment where, quote unquote, we can tell should have shown up, and it didn't, because they want to use this video to promote xenophobia. Exactly. They were in such a rush. They get such a dopamine rush over proclaiming their alleged superiority over other blacks. They didn't even take the 5 seconds to even ask, where is he from? And it's so ironic because that's their favorite question to ask. Where you from? Where you from? Where you from? The one time they should have asked it, they didn't ask it because they were in such a rush to beat on their chest and measure their penis. Anyway, let's continue. This person said, oh, they were licking his butt. They were using him to downgrade Africans. Meanwhile, he's an African the whole time. ridiculous, embarrassing. Throw this movement in the garbage. This person said the FBA ADOS white supremacist narrative falsely claims that only Black Americans defend themselves against anti-Black racists. Despite saying that you can tell Black Americans and Africans apart, they incorrectly assert that an African man fighting Argentinians is actually a Black American. Hashtag Afrophobia. Listen, 100%, 100%. Man, the movement, listen, this movement has lost all credibility. I mean, it never had no credibility, once it became a penis measuring contest, but now it has been confirmed that this movement serves no purpose for the Black race. Anyway, let's continue. This person said, a whole Niger man, mind you. Exactly, a whole Niger man. Like, come on now, but you got to understand that's part of the FBA doctrine, right? Part of the FBA doctrine is that we are the only ones that fight. We are the only ones that stand up. Everybody else doesn't do nothing. They don't have a history of doing nothing. They're not worth nothing. We are the only ones that do anything. That's the doctrine, right? O'Shea Duke Jackson said the same thing in the video the other day when I debunked him, right? He said the same exact thing. Our group is the only group. Our group is the only group, right? That's the doctrine. So when you constantly tell yourself that every day, our group is the only group, naturally, when you see a Black man standing on business, you're going to assume that it's your ethnic group because you brainwash yourself into believing that you have this alleged superiority over other groups when in reality, you really don't. But anyway, let's continue. This person said, they already pimped the red pill pipeline, disrespecting the Black woman. Now it's dying. FBA is the new online money making for these bozos. Now, this brother might be a subscriber to the channel because I literally said that in my video the other day against O'Shea, right? Like 10 years ago, even Tariq Nasheed included. Before it was the Black immigrants, it was the Black woman that was the enemy, right? Oh, look at this video of this Black woman. Look at this Black woman, the Black woman, the single mother Black woman, right? Then it became the Black immigrant, the Nigerian, the Jamaican, the Haitian. Listen, they just simply changed their target. It went from the Black woman to now the Black immigrant, the Black immigrant. That's all it is, man. This brother might be a subscriber. Shout out to you, bro. Anyway, let's continue. This person said, Destiny swappers. Now, this was the best example of tethering. This was the biggest example of destiny swapping that I ever see. Anyway, let's continue. This person said, self-identified Indian wannabes are pathetic. I wish they looked more Indian than African. Now, it's so crazy because, like I said, especially Tariq Nasheed, he's always talking about the so-called the amalgamation. We're an amalgamated group, right? We only have a little bit of the African. Only a tiny amount of Africans came from Africa, but we're the native indigenous, and we have a little bit of the European. We had an ethnogenesis, right? Does this Black man look like the product of ethnogenesis? Does this Black man look like he got so-called native indigenous blood in his body? No, that's the West African Black man in full effect, 100%, right? No European blood in them, no native indigenous blood in them. That's the West African, pure product right there, right? So how did you get confused with that? You're the native indigenous booty scratcher. How you get confused with the real authentic West African Black man? We not the same. We not the same. So like I said, if you needed any confirmation that this movement is not a movement about pursuing the United States government or any white people for anything, it's just a penis measuring contest against other Black people, right? That is the FBA movement, in case you didn't know, right? If you needed any confirmation, right, that's what it is. We're the only group that does anything. We're the only group that has ever done anything. Other Black people never done anything. And if you see any Black person doing anything, that's because they're part of our ethnic group. That's the movement in a nutshell. Quick summary, 100%. Anyway, it's your boy Nevakari Salim back in the Billy. Yes, indeed. Brand new album, Black Winter. Pin comment at the top. Brand new music video, 2 a.m. in Venezuela. Check it out. And I'm gone. Peace.
Starting a business is hard, or so you thought. That's why you need Busy. It's an absolute game changer in getting your business off of the
Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it send shots, I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy trapping, I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison, hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous, turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she fresh. Hop in a whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in a whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater. Feel like they see me, I feel like I'm Saudi or ran up on Yanni in the middle of Bamako. Enemy line, they claiming he innocent. Don't do no talking, I gotta move militant. Don't do no talking, I hit him with facts. 1804, bringing it back. 1804 like I'm Mother Cap Henry. King with the vision, the crown never empty. Top of the mountain, my soldiers defend me. Ducking and dodging the foreign intelligence. Hitting my desk on the DGSE. Dodging they traps, still on my feet. Feeling impeccable, feel like I'm shining. Go to my neck and I'm flooded with diamonds. Go to my neck and I feel like a mess. Feel like a lion, I'm in a savannah. Feel like the king when I'm up in the jungle. Never defeated, I never been humble. Come out victorious every every encounter. Money machine give me help when I count it. Money machine stack it up in a beat. Heart of a king and I ride for the team. Weight of the world got it stuck on my shoulders. Bet you can feel it, my heart get it colder. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it's in shots, I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try, but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous, turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in a whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in a whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it's in shots, I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try, but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous, turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in a whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in a whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater.
Now, if you don't think that you are powerful as an African or as a country in the continent, you should begin to wake up. That you hold the remote that controls everything around the world. If you refuse the world today, the world cannot survive. There will be a pause. I am saying this with my full chest because I know what I'm saying. I'm going to use the Sahel as an example before I take you to Dangote and the other clip. Look at the Sahel. When the Sahel cut off uranium, Niger in particular, when Niger cut off uranium from France, after that, what happened? Just rewind to 2022, late 2021 to 2022, when the revolution started. Look into France before 2020 and France after 2020 and come back and tell me what you think. Okay? When Burkina Faso cut off gold mining from France, Niger cut off uranium and pursued all the military bases out of the Sahel, what happened? The whole world trembled. When the Sahel said, we now want to control what we have. We want you to leave. The whole world trembled. And this is just 3 nations. 3. 1, 2, 3 out of 54. Now imagine if these 54 countries cut off everything that leaves their country into Europe and America. Imagine what the world will feel like. You're joking. You don't know that you're living off Africa. And you sit where you are, insult the continent and its people. Anyway, I don't blame you. It's the same Africans that give you that right. If every African that had left willingly, I'm not talking about those that were enslaved, if all the Africans that have willingly migrated from Africa returned to Africa, to their different countries, and looking into stabilizing these countries of theirs, collecting the power by force from these wicked leaders that are puppets, do you think the Africa you see today will be the same Africa you see by that time? 3 countries cut off resources and the world vibrated. If 54 will cut off, the world will collapse without Africa. It's a fact that cannot be disputed. If you can dispute it, come and dispute it with me. Let me see.
Everybody wants to take Africa today. Everybody, the Chinese, the Russians, the Turks, the Iranians, Israel, the United States, everybody wants to take Africa. You know why? Africa alone monopolizes 42 of the 48 strategic minerals and resources of the world. That's why they want to take Africa. Because to survive in the 22nd century, you need those African resources. They have everything. Europe doesn't have anything. What does Europe have? Europe got everything from Africa. You take away Africa from Europe, and Europe is dead. Japan, big power. What does Japan have? Zero. They get everything from Africa and the oil from the Middle East. Look what is happening. Iran cuts off in 3 weeks, cut off, close the Gulf, close the Strait of Hormuz, and already the whole economy of the world is in crisis. So that shows you that these countries don't have the resources. It's Africa which has the resources. And oil is in Nigeria, the Middle East, Angola. The whole platform of West Africa is nothing but oil, which has never been touched. From Namibia, you go straight up to Senegal, and Mauritania is nothing but oil. You have two big oil platforms in the world, the African, West African platform, and the Caribbean platform, which goes from Brazil straight up to Venezuela and Colombia. That's why Maduro, they picked him up in his bed and took him up to the United States, because Maduro said, no, you're not going to take this oil. So I'm here to tell you that Hitler is back. Hitler is back. Except that today he speaks many languages. He's multilingual. And today he's not in Germany. He's all over. He's multinational. He's all over the world. And you know, today he doesn't have that funny little mustache that Hitler had, ridiculous little mustache that people laughed. No, he's back without the mustache.
Hey friends, Eric here. And in this video, I want to talk to you about how you can retire with just $300,000.
If you're not following Voice of Africa on TikTok, by the way, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's a revolutionary statements, facts that cannot be disputed, all put together in one. Now, let's listen to the richest man in the continent.
Nicola, you want me to be very open? And,
totally.
So it's China. China really have dominated business in Africa.
And how do
because of the absence of the others.
Yeah. How do you see that?
Well, they are making money.
Yeah.
They are dominating the landscape. And obviously, you know, Africans, even our own governments, they don't joke with China, because China, they put their balance sheet on the table.
So some examples of how China has helped you.
Okay, let me, some of the projects, like in cement, like some of the things that we do purchase of their equipment and co, they give you a suppliers credit backed by their insurance company, which is called Sinosure. Sinosure has invested, to talk about 1.2 trillion in supporting their companies to go abroad and sell their technology, sell their equipment, and giving you a credit of 4 or 5 years. Okay, but if I now go to Italy, for example, and they're asking me to write a check of a power plant of $500 million that I want to, build. And I have one which is also good, might not be even as good as Italy, okay? But the Chinese are saying that, no, just give me 20%. The rest, I will give you 5 years, financing. Which one are you going to take if you are in my shoes? Obviously, you take the Chinese one, because the Chinese one, it means that I can do more. These ones, they will suck out my cash and I won't be able to do more. So for me to grow that big, I also need to leverage. I'm not going to over leverage, but I need to leverage the business to be able to get to where I want to be. And where we want to be is something very, very, very big. You know, we want to do pause. We are spending $45 billion between 2026 and 2030. So if we are going to, obviously I will lean more to this, but right now today, I've seen that US is also changing. This time around when I went to Development Finance Corporation of US, they just got about 208 billion. They are very hungry for infrastructure. They're very hungry for the ports, and they are ready to lend. So with that one, then they are ready for us to now look at them and do more business. I've had delegation of some people from the House of Reps of, the Assembly of Japan. And what I told them is that, no, Japan, you'll be missing for a very long time. And today, when you are coming, make sure that you come with your own balance sheet on the table, because we have choices of buying from many other countries. But if you don't really come with that support, I have to go to a country that can give me that support for me to be able to leapfrog to the next level.
Yeah, I can see that. Do you think it's possible to increase efficiency in Africa without increasing inequality?
Well, the inequality issue we have to address. It will be very difficult to do that without addressing the issue of inequality. And that's when I think various governments of Africa, they are working towards that. And I'm sure I will get there.
And climate?
Well, the climate, when you look at, we are not the biggest polluters. In those whole thing, we're less than 6% of the polluting the environment. So we're doing quite a lot. You can see.
But it's difficult. I mean, cement production is difficult, right?
Yeah, but we have quite a lot. In cement today, Nicola, it's not like before. If you come to our cement plant, even under the kiln that is moving, rotating, you can sit down there and eat. The process that we have is more stringent than that of even Europe. In our own plants, we are using robotic machines. We are using the dust emission is very low. We are using alternative fuel to make sure that we cut down all this. And if you look at it now, what are we doing today? The biggest polluters are shipping companies. So we're stopping almost maybe 500 ships from going in there to pick up crude, to go and refine, to now bring back the, products. Today, as we speak, almost all our trucks, maybe 90% today of our trucks are all CNG. We're not using diesel. Even though we produce diesel, but we are using cleaner energy for that. We are looking at now not only generating power from hydro and gas, we're also doing solar and wind. So because we have massive land, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. So in every aspect of our own business, which is also driven by the government, is to see how do we actually, because this climate change is real.
Yeah.
But with us, we have a lot of issues to address first before we now get to that. So what we are doing now, we are doing them simultaneously, trying to provide for our needs at the same time working on the climate.
Yeah.
Attention retirees, if you're willing to be at your computer from 9 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. on most weeks.
Because today we can't just say that, hey, look, climate from today, we will not do this, we don't know. But what we are doing is that, yes, we are providing what we need, but at the same time, bringing in the climate issues into place so that we will be out of these climate change issues.
Yeah.
Wow, Africa is growing, and listening to discussions like this gives me hope to see that Europe is even a more polluter than Africa at this time. Is a big win for the continent. It shows that Africa has improved so much. And come to think of it, this is the same Europe that a lot of Africans abandoned their countries for. And to see that the African continent is thriving better, even to keep a more cleaner environment and climate. Kudos to Dangote. Kudos to, those who are working to see that the continent is stable enough. Okay? Now, talking about, just imagine a world where the whole melanated are united, do business together. When I say melanated, I mean whether you identify as FBA, African American, whether you identify as an African in the British world, an African in the Asian world, an African in any part of the world, like everybody comes together, throw away this whole idea of we are not, let's come together, unite, support our own businesses, propagate our businesses, consume melanated, support melanated, irrespective of where you come from, our Caribbean brothers and sisters. Imagine a world like that. A world where all Africans, a world where all melanated are united. Our money circulates within us. It doesn't go out. And gradually begin to create our own sovereignty. And things begin to fall in place. And our powers will be returned. Imagine that kind of world. Now you have understanding of why there is effort for sabotaging. There is effort for more segregation and division. And woe betide you. I mean the whole melanated community now worldwide, whether America, Caribbean, in Asia, in Europe, in Africa. Woe betide you if you are one of those who are being paid to cause destruction and more separation. Woe beside you if anybody is paying you, if you are collecting a cent from any group of people to cause more division in black communities. Woe beside you, because you are selling your mother. And for a being to sell the mother, that is destruction already. We have to unite. There is no way. There is no other way. You can claim you are whatever, but they don't see you as that. They see you as Negroes. They see you as black. They see you as whatever they want to see you as. The same way they see you there, they see Africans in the continent. We are one people. That's how they see you. They might project these ideas to you. You buy this idea, propagate it. They go behind and laugh at you. And they sit down and watch how you spearhead the destruction of your own race of people. It's unfortunate that we see all this segregation and, dirty comparison, childish behavior amongst black people on the internet, coming out to wash your dirty linen before people and claim that you are better off than any other part, any other group. Africans will say they are better, and black Americans will say they are better. Sit there and be diverting your energy into all these flimsy things for destruction. When the payment comes, when time comes for you to pay, you will pay alone. Those of you who are causing division between black people, you will pay alone. Nobody will pay it with you. I'll see you in my next one.
People, they told us it couldn't be done. That once the global financial sharks get their teeth into an African nation, that's it. You're finished. You're just a line item in a ledger in Washington or Geneva. They told us that Africa debt isn't meant to be paid off. It's meant to be managed, extended, and used as a leash to keep us walking exactly where the masters want us to go. But tonight, the leash has snapped. Africa is witnessing something that has sent literal shockwaves through the corridors of the International Monetary Fund. This isn't a rumor. This isn't diplomatic talk. This is a story unfolding in the bright, uncompromising light of history. Namibia has just done the unthinkable. Namibia has walked into the halls of global debt, slammed a check on the table, and walked out unfettered. Welcome back to Power and Pulse. For those of you who are new to the family, welcome to the front lines of the Awakening Africa. For the regulars, you know we don't do polite news. We do the truth with an edge. And the center of this seismic shift is a woman. The Western world didn't see it coming. A leader the continent has been praying for. Her Excellency President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. On December 3rd, 2024, she took that oath. The experts expected businesses as usual. They expected silence. They expected another African leader to come begging for an extension. Instead, they got a declaration of strategic freedom. In one single calculated move, Namibia cleared its entire debt to the IMF, $750 million. Settled, wiped clean, no begging, no bending, no restructuring. Traps. Tonight we tell the story of the day the cage door was kicked open. Let's be real about how global finance works. It isn't emotional, it's cold, it's calculated, it's predatory. Usually when an African nation calls the IMF to say, we can't pay, please give us more time, please give us another loan to pay the interest on the old loan, it's a hamster wheel of misery. But Namibia's message was different. It was the funds have been transferred, full settlement, transaction complete, goodbye. To the financial world, this was not normal. Why? Because African debt is designed to be a permanent condition. It's the modern version of colonial tax. It's the lock on the door that keeps our resources flowing out and their expertise flowing in. But President Nandi didn't look for the key. She bought a sledgehammer. Ouch. How does a nation that isn't a global superpower suddenly settle billions in debt overnight? To understand the how, you have to understand the who. President Nandi isn't some politician who stumbled into the state house. She's a chess player. She spent decades in diplomacy, governance, and economic war rooms. She knows the language of power, and she knows that the house always wins unless you stop playing their game. From the second she took the office, she didn't go on a victory tour to Paris. She went into the planning rooms. She worked in total calculated silence. No flashy press conference. No announcing the plan to announce a plan. Just cold hard coordination with the Bank of Namibia and local sovereign wealth strategists. While other leaders were flying private jets to London for consultation, she was cutting capital leakage. While others were living in excess, she was building a national war chest. She froze non-essential foreign commitments. She strengthened regional trade. She made sure Namibia's resources, its diamonds, its minerals, its energy stayed in Namibia's pockets. She was saving while the world thought she was struggling. She was planning for liberation while the West was drafting more loan conditions. And when that reserve hit the magic number, she made the call. Like, can you imagine the face of the IMF officer when they saw the balance due? $0 notification. That's not just a payment. That's a middle finger to the entire system of dependency. This moment is bigger than Namibia. It's a psychological earthquake for the entire continent. For 60 years, we've been told you can't live without us. You cannot build a road without a loan. You cannot run a hospital without the IMF. You are too small. You are too weak. Just sign here on the dotted line and give us your future as collateral. Namibia just proved that it's a lie, a flat-out, dirty lie. Namibia has said, we can stand, we can build, we can pay, we can be free. This sends a message that if Namibia can do it, why is Nigeria still struggling? Why is Kenya still...
Yo, the real estate market is not down. You just don't have the right tools to make money in a weird market like what we're
still trapped? Why is Zambia still negotiating? It's not because we don't have the money. It's because we haven't had the native command to keep that money. Namibia just gave the rest of the continent a mirror. And for the first time, we like what we see. Make no mistake, the IMF is not celebrating tonight. They don't want you to pay off your debt. African debt is their revenue. African debt is their influence. If you don't owe them anything, they can't tell you how to run your country. They can't tell you to cut ties, or they can't tell you to cut subsidies for your farmers. They can't tell you to privatize your water. They lose their seat at the table. When Namibia walked out of that cage, it did something dangerous. It removed the leverage. The message to the West was terrifying. What happens if more of them do this? What happens when Africa stops asking and starts deciding? The world order shifts. That's what happens. The power moves from the boardroom in Washington back to the soil in Windhoek. Ordinary Namibians are walking taller today. They feel it in their spirits because for the first time in a long time, their nation looked the world in the eye, not from below, but as an equal, not as a borrower, but as a boss. This is what Africa looks like. When Africa leads itself, this is what happens. When a leader values self-determination of her people over the applause of foreign capitals, President Nandi has shown that the chains were never permanent. The cage was never actually locked. We only needed the spine to stand up and walk out. But let's be clear, this wasn't luck. It wasn't an accident. It was leadership. It was leadership that sees the nation as a legacy, not a marketplace. It was a leadership that understands that supremacy isn't something you beg for. It's something you claim with discipline. Where others use power to enrich themselves, she used power to buy back her country's future. Where others bend, she stood. And by standing, she has cleared a path that many feared was blocked forever. Namibia isn't just a small nation anymore. It is a lighthouse. It is proof that the era of the perpetual borrower is ending. The Black Star isn't just a flag. It's a reality of how we handle our businesses. So history will remember this date. History will remember the name Netumbo Nandi Daitwa. They will remember the day a woman from the Sahel region said, "We will not be owned. We will not be controlled. We will be free, and here is the receipt to prove it." Africa is watching. Africa is rising. And most importantly, Africa is awakening to the truth that our poverty was a policy and our freedom is a choice. This isn't the end of the story. This is just the opening chapter of a new book. A book where we don't ask for aid. We demand respect. A book where we didn't sign facts, we sign checks. The chains are broken, the cage is empty, and the world finally knows that Namibia and the rest of us are no longer up for sale. If you are proud to see an African nation standing on its own 2 feet, if you are ready to see the rest of the continent follow Namibia's lead into strategic command, then I need you to smash that like button. Let the algorithm know that African liberation is the only news that matters. Also, subscribe to Power and Pulse. We are the digital heart of the revolution. We don't just report the news, we track the power. Also, share this video. Send it to every African who needs to know that the dream of freedom is actually a bank transfer away. Namibia has walked through the door. Now, it's time for the rest of us to follow. I'm your host, Marie, and this is Power and Pulse, and I will see you in the next one.